All right, we are back, and I'm excited to welcome in one of our frequent guests here on the Stronger Together podcast as we get ready to head out to Orlando tomorrow, where both of us are actually heading out tomorrow. And for those who have not tuned in yet, my name is Matthew Joseph. I am the host of the Stronger Together podcast. Make sure to check out all of the episodes getting ready for FETC, hearing from the amazing speakers and sharing some of their content that they're going to be going over and then their work. So I'm thrilled to welcome in Tim Needles, a frequent guest, as I said, to the Stronger Together podcast. Tim, how you doing on this Sunday evening?
I'm excited. This makes it real talking to you, and we're flying out tomorrow. It's hard to believe that it's time, but I am excited to be heading down to FETC.
That's awesome. A few people have said that they're like, all right, this is the start of it when we come on and we chat. So it makes me feel like I have a piece of this. I keep saying we when I talk about FETC, although I'm a very small piece of it, but I enjoy you saying that. So for those who don't know you, share a little bit about your work. Where are you, and kind of your journey into this field of presenting and presenting nationally.
Sure. So I started out as a high school art teacher, and then I became a high school technology integration coach in Smithtown, New York, which is on Long Island. I was working in like a little bubble for a long time as an art teacher. But then, luckily social media kind of came around and it just connected me to people. And I got so excited about that and wanted to share. So I wrote a book, Steam Power, of some of my favorite projects to share that are all interdisciplinary so anyone could use them. And, that just kind of kicked it off. Once you start sharing, you don't never really stop. It's nice. You connect everyone. And then, I get to know people like you, which is fantastic.
That is awesome. And yes, we've connected a few places, Tech and Learning, NiceGate, definitely, and then ISTE and FETC. So I'm thrilled. And part of that work is district wide, correct? You've moved into that district role and you support on the district. How does that shift when you start working with larger groups of people?
Well, I enjoy it because doing anything the same way for 25 years is you really enjoy just a change. But I always wanted to collaborate more, so it really allows me to do that. So you understand the perspective of administrators in the building versus administration in the district and the teachers. So I kind of feel like I could help kind of communicate the different perspectives everyone has and work together. And I get to still co-teach in classes, which is fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love working with students. I never want that part to end. So, it's really fun. I really have enjoyed my role so much that they actually extended it. It was supposed to be a short-term 3-year thing. And they said all right, you have this until you don't want it anymore, which I can't imagine ever happening. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That is important, as you said, that once you move away from, going from the classroom teacher where I was a principal, it's like I'm still in the building, I feel connected. And then when you go to the district office, it's like, I got to get my car and go into school. It's incredibly important. And besides sharing with your district, you share at many events, a lot online, and you're going to be at FETC for multiple sessions. So I'm going to dive right first day. You kick it off at the pre-conference with a 2-hour workshop about top 10 ed tech coach hacks. So when people see that they're there for the pre-conference, what's happening during there? Obviously, we're not going to share the 10 strategies. You're going to see those on Tuesday, but how does that come about?
Well, I always I've been in this role now for 5 years as a sort of there's lots of different names for coaches. But I think that I had to learn a lot of the things myself, and it just really helps to connect to other people that are doing the same thing. So I want to make it easier for other people and share what works for me. And then I'm working with Melissa Kincaid too, who's a math teacher and a similar role, but totally different approach. So it's nice to kind of have that balance of different ways you could do things too.
No, is she in your district?
No, she's from Cincinnati. So I met her some of the kind of educational programs we were doing.
Yeah, and when people see that, is it just like they're going to sit and listen to these 10 ideas? Are they going to be incorporated into things? Like, how are you going to weave that into 2-hour workshop?
I always feel like it's too no one wants to sit through 2 hours of talking. So yeah, for each one of the different hacks, we do some hands-on, practice of doing some of that. So I think that's always key. You want hands-on. For me, it's that's always the valuable part. If you don't actually use it and do it, you kind of forget it, especially at a conference. During Tuesday, by the time you get to Friday at FETC, you could forget everything that happened the first 2 days if you don't actually put it into practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you take that, as I was looking at your sessions, and you're talking about doing that work on the pre-conference day, and then I was like, awesome. The next day is for administrators, because administrators need to see the value in this too. They might not always be the ones doing it, but seeing
Right.
the value. So talk about how the two of you took that original idea on the 14th and like, we're going to now do this for administrators. Like, how's that different?
Well, because part of my role is really working with the administrators all the time, and they don't get to see, like, they don't get to co-teach and get in the classroom and see some
Mhm.
of what's happening. So, like, I feel like it's something that they're always really thankful for when I'm able to give them some of the different perspectives, and some of the tools are the same, and you use them totally differently. And I have my administrative degree. And it's like, in going through that process and learning all of those elements and sort of like the different perspectives, even between like building and district, it could be really different,
Sure.
especially the size of the building and the scope and things like that. So I want to make sure that I work with lots of different audiences all the time, and I feel like especially for administrators, it really helps to have that perspective and know a little bit about how the tools work and how they could be implemented, both in the classroom and for them.
Yeah, and I think just that probably, and I don't know this, I don't know your district, but being a district administrator is that seeing your work become more valuable. And when you're in working with teachers, it's just not, oh, Tim's being like a substitute and doing some tech work in there. Like, you see some of the value in that. So that has to be really fulfilling to do that with the administrators. And then the second, you have two things on that day. So the pre-conference, you kick it right off, and then on Wednesday the 15th, the intersection of creativity and artificial intelligence. And I know I was somebody actually asked you, is as an artist, like, is AI creation art? And you were very, it's an awesome answer, but how are you intersecting AI and creativity?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I think there's lots of really interesting things that are happening. So you hear a lot about AI, obviously, in education, but like, with the arts, music, theater, dance, fine arts, media arts, there's lots of really exciting things happening. So, like, I'm going to share some of how you could use some of these in the classroom. Things like one really popular one is like Suno, right? Because you're able to make music. I love music. I'm a musician. I
Hmm.
play guitar my whole life, so it's like being able to actually put together a song. AI is invaluable. You're kind of able to, use some of these tools and do really creative things. So, that's an example, but like, there's so much out there, and it doesn't get the same kind of focus as some of the, the bigger tools. So it's kind of nice to have a different perspective.
Yeah, and in that creativity, now how does that go when working with students? Because as adults, we can kind of understand that. How have you seen that play in the classrooms?
Well, I remember hearing Francis Ford Coppola say years ago, like, at one point in time, we're going to be able to have like a 6-year-old in their backyard make a movie as good as one of mine. And like, the tools are really there now, because it's like,
Right.
you're able, like, to tell a story. Like, that's the core part of much of the arts, is like, storytelling and communication. So you have all of the materials now, thanks to technology, to really do that. So, it's all about really developing more of the storytelling. And like, it's great. I got to work with you at Nicegate, and we were doing the TED Talks, and it was fantastic to see, your progress as you kind of like were building the talk and then delivering it. So it's a really similar thing in the classroom. Like, you get to help students over
Sure.
a longer course of time. And then, you get to see them, like, fulfill their idea. And it's always a fun, exciting part.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And then for most, that would be like, okay, I'm all set. You have a full day then. On Thursday, you come back, you have a 10 o'clock, a 1 o'clock, a 3 o'clock. You keep going back and forth. So you have two sessions: creative mindfulness and the gratitude project. So I love to dig into that. And then igniting creativity, unleashing 21st century STEM in your classroom. So talk about the gratitude project, because I saw a little bit about in Denver, and then I had a
Mhm.
chance to see it really close and participate in Nicegate this year, and now it's you're going to be sharing it at FETC. So talk a little bit about that one. I love sessions that aren't just based in technology, and it's real, empathetic leadership. So talk a little about that.
Yeah, I think it's just so important, especially now that, technology moves so quickly. Kind of keeping your hand in sort of that mindfulness area is just really important. I think we live in crazy times. Like, I've been, like, living in the fires in California, and like the things that are
Yeah,
going on in the world. And it's like, we are more of a global village than we've ever been. And I think that, like, that puts a degree of stress on all of us. And students in the classroom also have of course, like, the things that happen in middle school, which is more
Right.
than enough for anyone. So like, I share a lot of different techniques, some tools, some ed tech tools to kind of help coping, help stress reduction,
Oh, that's great.
and help happiness. I mean, I think that's the big
Sure.
thing, finding joy.
And I think for me, one of the things I looked at when I was a building principal, and now definitely in the districts, like what's our attendance rate? Why are kids
Yeah.
not coming to school? And all of that plays into increasing attendance, which if they're in school, they're going to learn a little bit more because they're in front of the teacher as well. So that is great. So make sure to check that out. That is a Thursday at 10. And then after a little lunch break, they at least give you some time off, igniting creativity, unleashing 21st century in STEAM in your classroom. So this must be your bread and butter. This is
Yeah.
the one I want it to get into. So as individuals are looking through the agenda, what are they going to expect in this one?
So this is great because I just finished my second edition of my book Steam Power. Like literally, I was working on it today before before this podcast. So like it's going out to press soon. So like I updated everything. I shared new lessons. I shared new projects, new approaches. And like we use that word STEAM, but it's really just interdisciplinary because I work with
Mhm.
foreign language. I work with all these different disciplines, and it doesn't really matter what you teach. Just being able to integrate some other different kinds of disciplines together, which is just the real world actually. So like I share lots of different approaches and projects and really creative challenges is how I like to phrase a lot of it, because that's a good way to help engage students. It gets them interested. It's not so much about the traditional project, but with AI especially, I think we're moving more towards project-based learning and that kind of integration. So I think it's more important than it's ever been.
That's awesome. And then the last thing, wrap up Thursday, you have the Meet the Author experience. And as Tim mentioned, his book that is out now, Steam Power, Infusing Art into Your STEM Classrooms. And you also have some updates or some exciting news. So first, talk about Thursday afternoon, those who are coming to see you at the booth. Talk a little about your book.
Yeah, I mean that's always fun. It's great to meet people that have read it and talk to people that are just interested. And this is just a chance. Also, just I love these because you get to just connect with people and have conversations, which is always fun. Yeah, so I have a new chapter on artificial intelligence because you can't even have a book these days without
Right.
AI in it. And then I also work a lot on animation because AI made a big change in animation. It used to take so
Sure.
long to do things, and now you could do it in the classroom on your phone. So those are big things. And then of course, lots of just things I've learned away. One of the nice things, as I'm sure is that like when you put stuff out into the world, lots of stuff comes back, and like
Yeah.
people are using it, and you find different ways of different perspectives. So I like to share some of different ways people have used some of the projects and some of the ideas and really made it better. So that's always fun.
That's awesome. And if you don't already, make sure to follow Tim. His social media handle is right there. Shares a lot of what we talked about today on social media, gives ideas, gives lessons. Is there anything you can tease with the new part of the book? Or
Yeah, as
uh,
a matter of fact, I will this will be the first time I'm sharing. So like this is the
what?
I just I designed the new cover. So I took the 3D print from the original one, and then I actually painted it. So like
Oh, that's awesome.
the big thing is I always wanted to design my own book cover, and the first time around, like I was a brand new author, like they didn't really know if that was
Sure,
feasible.
sure.
So
No, I get that.
they let me design the logo, but not the cover. So this time I got to design the cover, which is really exciting and really fun.
Awesome.
So I can't wait. It's going to be a little bit more exciting when you get that first print copy. You know what that's like.
Yes. When any idea of timeline?
Well, it'll definitely be up by the ISTE ASCD conference.
All right, great.
Beyond that, I'm not too sure. Yeah.
All right, well, that's super exciting. Now, I saw a lot of individuals, you as well, with the Adobe kind of animated, my superpowers. This,
Yeah.
how many years have you been going to FETC?
This is my third year, which is nice. So
Okay.
the first year, Adobe actually brought me. I worked in the Adobe room in New Orleans, and that was so much fun. It's a good way to kind of. It was a little different than I think the traditional FETC,
Yep.
but it was fun. Like you're busy the whole time, and Adobe's the first person, the group that actually brought me into conferences. So like way back
Okay.
2000, 1999 is when I first connected with them, and then they brought me to my first conference in 2003. So yeah, so they were nice enough to bring me to FETC the first time, and then last year was fantastic. I love it in Orlando. It's a really
Orlando's awesome.
fantastic place. And there's also so much going on. I know you have the pickleball tournament that I'm
Yep.
excited about going to tomorrow. And I'm going to be working with the Adobe group down there too, which is fun. It's always nice to have my Adobe colleagues.
Awesome. Now, is pickleball something you've done before? This is the first time?
Not at all. So yeah, I'm curious about trying it.
All right. Well, the good news, Carl and I have some non-competitive games, more like skills challenge. See if you can hit it into the trash can type of
Oh,
thing. So
cool.
if people have never played, he and I, as you know, will coax people at least to get out there and at least try it once or twice. Just maybe not even a game, but just to be a part of it. And it was a fun activity that I'm looking forward to. So this is your third FETC, but you've been at many state and national events. What is something you're looking to learn at this year? Like take away and be like, okay, I know this is something I'm going to target either in the expo hall or a session or something. What's top of your mind for that?
Yeah, so like I always do a couple things, especially now being district wide. So I'll literally go to the different buildings and ask people like what do they need. So like that's the first thing I do, just because that's part of my job, is really just serving the educators I work with. So they give me lots of specifics about tools they were thinking about looking at, things like that. Of course, new technology is always a big piece. AI, every 6 months you really need to have a whole new idea of what's happening because the landscape changes. So those are some pieces that like I have to specifically focus on.
Sure.
And then of course like the connections too, because it's like oftentimes I get a better idea in just the side conversations with people about what's really happening and like what's really important. So I think that's where I kind of get grounded as an educator in ed tech. So like there's so many different things to follow that you couldn't really keep up with everything, but you get a better idea from talking to colleagues at events like this, where you kind of know which direction things are going in.
No, I like it. And I know, working together on the TED Talk and you being part of the mentor team and giving a lot of feedback, I've asked other presenters, but mostly about content. Not that you couldn't give feedback on that, but your artistic and creativity. What would be some of your advice to new presenters this year as they start to design slides or
So that's
presentation, whatever they're doing?
Yeah, I always like to look at your presentations as a gift, right? So you want to give something to the audience. I think that's important. Like, it's not just showing off what you know. It's like, you want to really be empathetic toward the audience, which means that like you want to pace it for people, as if you're sitting there, because it's like I know that I would get bored even after maybe 15 minutes of the same thing. And then really you want to simplify, you don't want to add too much in terms of slides.
Sure.
Um, because people don't really have the time, like the attention span even to read. So like
Right.
I try to keep the text fairly simple, and the graphics like powerful. So like I like to keep it to just a couple colors usually, and kind of keep it really well designed. So like when we talk about design, it should all kind of have the same look. Slide 37 should be no different than slide 2 in terms
Right.
of the look. So some people have 14 different fonts and like 12 different colors, and it's just you get burned out faster that way.
Yeah, no, excellent. Well, thanks for taking a little bit of time to showcase your sessions. If you're going to be down in Orlando, make sure to hit the filter feature on the agenda and type in Tim Needles. If you need a quick refresher on Tuesday, the pre-conference, he'll be talking about EdTech coach hacks. He's going to be doing a 2-hour workshop starting at 11 on Wednesday. He'll have that session with a tweak in it for administrators. So make sure to check that out, as well as intersection of creativity and AI. And then another busy day right there on Thursday, talking about creativity, mindset, and gratitude project, as well as igniting creativity, and rounds out his FETC Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock, really sharing about his book, Steam Power. So Tim, thanks for taking some time. Thanks for being the launch of the new design. I feel very privileged that we got to see that first. And safe travels tomorrow. And I look forward to seeing you either on Tuesday, any point during the day, or definitely on the pickleball
Yeah,
courts.
absolutely. Always great talking to you, Matt. Thank you.
Always great talking to you. And for those of you who are watching or have watched, make sure to continue to tune in. We're going to have new episodes all the way up till Tuesday, the 14th, when we start podcasting live on the show floor at FETC. So, Tim, thanks for stopping by. And for those out there, we look forward to seeing you in Orlando.